how I started in World of Warcraft. My earliest memory of it is I used to live in San Francisco, and me and my brother would go to this gaming cafe, and we would play Warcraft 3, and we loved that game. And then one day I look over and this dude is playing, and I find out at that time it's World of Warcraft. I see him playing a night elf in Teldrassil. He's doing like the starting leveling area. Like I remember this so vividly. I'm just like, "What are you playing?" And he's like, "World of Warcraft." And I was like, "What? You're playing World of Warcraft, like Warcraft 3, but you're in like this third person mode graphics and you're exploring the world?" Like just blows my mind. And I don't. We're at this gaming cafe because we don't have a PC at home that we can play video games on. I think we had like a Nintendo 64 or something like that. So I think it's like years, like a year or two later, because I started right at the end of vanilla. But we had a home computer, and I had a friend ask me to play, like a high school friend asked me to play World of Warcraft. And he had a warrior named Nolo Fenway. I remember that. So yeah, I think I just downloaded it. My PC was terrible. I probably the same thing everyone had was some just off the shelf computer. So I log on and he gives me like a gold or two, like after playing for a level or two, and I'm just like mind blowing, thinking this is the most insane thing ever because you're buying white gear off of vendors, and you're like, what? You're giving me 2 gold and I can buy gear for like 1 or 2 silver. This is an amazing amount of gold. So just freaking out. It took me forever to level. I think I started as a warrior, and then I eventually switched to a hunter and then a druid. A hunter for a while, and then a druid is the first character I think I actually leveled to max level. So Stormheim. It took me a minute to think about what my favorite zone would be. I kind of was almost going to go with a cliche answer of Grizzly Hills just because it's pretty and the music's awesome and stuff like that. But I actually leveled through it in Wrath Classic recently, and I was like, I feel like a lot of it's nostalgia, like just seeing that kind of zone for the first time. Then I was going to pick like maybe Elwyn Forest. I like Elwyn a lot. I just think it's a lot of nostalgia tied to it, I guess. But as I thought about it longer, like I am truly a warrior at heart. I've actually been grinding the Valajar Stormdrake here recently, and I mean the Valajar is just a warrior people. Like that's like the most warrior race I can think of. The zones or the Stormheim zone is just amazing. Like it's very unique, very mountainy. It's so cool to get to a high spot in Stormheim and just look around. A really cool zone filled with a warrior people. And especially now with the view distance being increased to what it is, like it is amazing. You can see across the entire zone, and it's just so pretty. Yeah, so Alliance, I've always played Alliance. Like I said, when I started like Night Elf, I thought the like fantasy behind Night Elves was just so good. And I remember doing the quests there. I don't think I picked like Alliance for a specific reason when I started playing, but it's just something I kind of always played. I switched to a Draenei Hunter when BC came out, and then once I switched to a Druid, I went back Night Elf. I don't even remember when I switched back to Warrior, but it's like I said, it's just something I've always played. I do have a little bit of factional pride, but I'm not like insane about it. I have Horde characters too. Especially at this point. I'm jealous that Horde has more of a population, and I wish true cross faction was like completely a thing, because I don't want to be restricted from playing with anybody that I might want to play with. But yeah, I mean, I like Alliance a lot. I like a lot of the characters on the Alliance. I mean, the Horde has great characters too. Once I did switch to Warrior, Varian Wren's just so fucking cool. It's a shame that he's dead now, but I'm glad that he went out the way he did and not, in a way like Sylvanas or something like that. I think Varian has a very cool story. I like Anduin now, actually. I thought he was kind of a little dweeb or something for a while there, but I actually like his character now, and I'm interested to see what they do with him. Interested to see what they do with Terralion, who's kind of like leading the Alliance right now, I believe, is what's going on. And the whole story with the Light. I don't think we'll see that in Dragonfight, probably. But yeah, I mean, I've always just preferred Alliance. And and a little bit of factional pride there, but not anything crazy. I think a lot of the horde characters are really cool, and like orcs are cool. I love Tauren. For PvP, it kind of stinks because I don't know that I would be human if the human PvP racial wasn't so good. But I do like my warrior a lot too. Like even being human, I think he looks really cool. I think humans have the coolest model for just general transmog. I think maybe I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but the I really like the Night Elf starting zone Teldrassil that your kind burned down. Um, I believe the quest chain or one of the quests was called the Relics of Awakening, and you are it's like the Benethil Den or something like that, and you have to go down in it and collect four relics in the cave. And I may be getting some of these names wrong, but I that quest is just so imprinted in my brain because I did it so many times, and I always struggled. The cave looks all the same, and there would be respawn timers, so you would get to where there should be a spawn of the item you need, and it wouldn't be there. And I spent so many hours in that cave looking for those quest items, and that's at like level 8. And it was a very dangerous caves because there was furrow bogs everywhere. Died so many times. So that's probably like the most imprinted on my head quest that I can think of. I kind of always wanted to play Classic. I thought it was a really cool idea because obviously I have like a lot of nostalgia about those games. I think I told you I started at the near the end of Vanilla, Burning Crusade is where I played the most, and I thought I was gonna really want to play Burning Crusade. But the leveling just takes so long, and it just is missing so many of the quality of life improvements from retail. So I definitely play retail almost exclusively. Now with Wrath coming out, it's funny. I bought like the higher tier of expansions with Burning Crusade, so I've got the mount and everything, and then I bought the one for Wrath of Lich King too. And I don't even think I really had intentions to play Wrath. I don't remember what triggered it. I bought the boost, and then Wrath came out, and I think it was kind of then that I decided. I have some real life friends, IRL friends, if you will, that were planning on raiding in Wrath of Lich King, and they kept on asking me if I was going to play, and I was like, I don't know. But Wrath came out, and I just hit the floor, and I just grinded out all the way to 80. I really enjoyed it. I played a Prot Warrior. I started out as Fury because I thought it would do more damage, but I saw another TikTok content creator, Nerdflex, who was playing Prot Warrior. And so I decided to give that a try. And I gave it a try more because I wanted to do dungeons, and I didn't want to have to like wait in queues for tanks. And I honestly don't think it would have been too much of an issue. But I switched to Prot Warrior, kind of not thinking about it. And when I went to look up specs, I saw the Revenge one. I was like, that'd be good. So I could, DPS and tank, and I'll be good. And oh my god, was leveling fun as the Revenge Prot Warrior. I went from like having a hard time killing one mob at a time to like being able to pull 4 or 5, especially if they were melee, blocking all their attacks, revenging them down. Like it was literally less efficient to kill one thing at a time than it was multiple things at a time. So I started doing that, doing dungeons, and just having an absolute blast. I did get Zygor guides to help me out with that. So, maybe feels a little bad there, but I just wanted to hit in game and gear up and just kind of experience it a little bit. I knew I wasn't going to play it forever, and I'm basically to the point where I'm done with Classic now. But I got the Glory of the Hero achievement, which is all the heroic dungeon achievements. So I've got my Red Proto Drake, and I've got the Champion of the Frozen Wastes achievement, which is the one for completing all of the heroic dungeons and then all of the raids on at least 10 man. So I've played World of Warcraft for, like I said, since Burning Crusade. Honestly, it's always been off and on. I've had a couple patches where I've like rated decently hardcore. I mean, nothing's crazy, but like cleared heroic ahead of the curve. I think that is a very fun way to play this game, but you need to have a group of people that you enjoy raiding with. And one of my biggest problems is once I've cleared heroic, I have no interest in continuing to clear it week after week. So this expansion was completely different for me. I raided with some of those real life friends that are playing Wrath now. I raided Castle Nathria with them, and then that kind of fizzled out. I mean, Shadowlands, as a lot of people know, have kind of been not the best expansion. But I started getting into PvP, and it was literally all because of the Elite Set transmog for Season 1. Some of the coolest gear I've ever seen. And actually, I think my shoulder is from that transmog, maybe my belt too. Yeah, it is. I was just blown away, and I was like, I have to do this. So I got into PvP. I struggled to get 1800. I didn't think I was going to be able to get it. Another super weird thing, you know, I'm learning how to PvP. I'm getting rid of bad habits, making good habits. I'm playing with people in LFG. You have a lot of toxicity there, but I met a lot of, you know, cool people since I started doing PvP. And there's a druid that I believe I got 1800 with. If I didn't get 1800 with him, I was playing with him a lot when I got near 1800, and maybe I got it with someone random. But I was playing with him, and we have been playing the rest of this expansion. We struggled to get 1800, and then the last 3 seasons we've gotten 2100, either together or we've grinded up pretty high and then maybe gotten it with pugs just because we're not playing at the same time. I didn't know him before he started Shadowlands, and he's getting married, and I'm actually going to his wedding in March of this year. Yeah, it's crazy. Just because we've come to know each other so much, and you know, we played together so much, and we've become like pretty good friends. I met him. Me and my family went out to Disney World, and he lives decently close to there. So I met him for lunch, him and his fiance, and you know, he sent me the invite when they got a date set. So yeah, I play retail. All of that to say, I play retail. And that's kind of my playstyle right now. It's mostly focused on PvP. I only have duelist level experience in 2s. I've hit 1950 and 3s for the first time this season. This season's the first time I've pushed 3v3 arenas. But I'm really hoping to get Gladiator in Dragonflight, hopefully the first season, but hopefully, if not the first season, by the end of Dragonflight. I need those mounts. And I'm just enjoying. I love World of Warcraft PvP. I've played so many different games, and I just don't enjoy player versus player and FPS and stuff like that as much as I like World of Warcraft PvP. So that first 1800 felt so good, and then the first Duelist the next season was just like mind blowing. Duelist doesn't feel as great right now, and I'm sure like I'll get my first Gladiator, and then the next season that's going to happen too. I don't think WoW is fun unless you have goals that you're working towards, and that's what I've realized this expansion. Like, I've played so much off and on where like I will just be lazily going around, you know, whatever the capital city is for that expansion, just bored out of my mind, and it's because you don't have goals that you're working towards. Getting an achievement goal that you've been working towards that's the best feeling in World of Warcraft. So Duelist Season 1 of Shadowlands, or sorry, Rival Season 1 of Shadowlands felt amazing. Duelist the rest of the seasons has felt good. This season it was like super easy. I got it like week 1, and that was like nutty to me, especially with how hard I grinded to get 1800 the first season. I will say another fun achievement was back in Legion. I actually rated pretty much all of that expansion. Legion was so good, but getting ahead of the curve, not the first raid tier, the second one, where Kill Jaden was the final boss, that was an extremely hard fight. And I think if you look back on it now, like a lot of people say that it has been the hardest fight of all time. And maybe I'm misquoting that there. I didn't do Mythic, but even just Heroic, getting that down with our guild, that was probably one of the most hype PvE moments I've had. As far as mounts, a couple of the crazy ones that I've gotten, like I got the Onyxian Drake really quickly. Like I didn't farm that one very long. I don't have any counters for that kind of stuff. Yeah, so the Onyxian Drake, I don't remember, but I remember being surprised with how few runs I had to do to get it. I literally think it was below 5, and I don't think I was grinding for it. I just would go in it every once in a while when I thought about it. And then the other one, I can't remember what it's called. Oh, the Corrupted Dreadwing, a particularly hard mount to get, but I really like the way this mount looks. So when they were doing the Pathfinder achievements, I would come back and like I didn't play Warlords. Like that was probably one of my least played expansions. Once they released the Pathfinder achievements, for some reason I was like, okay, I have to get back on to go get Pathfinder. And you did that by like doing a lot of achievements. I think a lot of them were in the final zone, Tanan Jungle or whatever. And then there was a currency to buy this mount. And I thought this mount was super cool when I got it. Blazing Drake. Yeah, so this is another one. I was not grinding, but I was doing Dragon Soul occasionally. And I thought this was like 100% mount because I think I got it on my first try. And I was like, oh, this is just for completing it on 25-man Heroic or something like that. But I think it's actually like a decently low drop chance if I'm not mistaken. So this was a pretty cool mount to get. I think there's another one that has like a recolor, and I think I would like the other color at some point. But this is a pretty cool mount. Obviously the Spell Tome, like I freaking love the Mage Tower. I loved it in Legion and I love it now. Such a cool idea to have single player PvE content that's super challenging and gives you awesome rewards. Like the transmog sets for every class, and then this book for completing all 7 challenges. Like I was proud to get this mount because I think I got it before they like made it available forever. I got it within that first like 2-month period that it was available. And it was hard. Like I had to go and I had to play classes that I hadn't played in a very long time. The healing one was fun. I was trying to do the arms one because that was a spec at the time. But I switched to Fury and it was just a piece of cake. I think I did the arms one just to prove that I could. I tried to look up like who the easiest classes were for the other ones. I think there was, for the one that's in like the Halls of Valor, I think Rogue was listed as one of the easiest ones, but I tried it over and over and I was just so clueless to how Outlaw Rogue played that I could not do it, even with everyone saying it was the easiest way to do that. So I actually switched to an Enhanced Shaman and I got that done pretty quickly. And I think I tried it over and over and over, and I got this Busted Treekin and got it on the first try. The other hard one was the Demon one where you're going around in circles around the guy. I can't even remember. Yeah, I did that one on a Frost Mage. I think for anyone who is up for a real challenge, like and doesn't mind like, you know, banging their head against the wall for a while, like should try to go get this one. I did the Disc Priest one, and I have a lot of friends who got it like a lot easier. I thought I was good at Disc Priest, but that one took me a lot of tries, but that was a really rewarding one. That was probably one of my favorite ones to get, just because it took me so many tries that the feeling of accomplishment once I got it felt really good. I don't like this mount, like riding around on it as much anymore, but I think having this mount is like one of the coolest things. There's another content creator out there, Deej. He did 100 rarest mounts, and I believe this is in the top 100. I can't remember exactly where it was, but it feels pretty cool to have one of the mounts in the top 100, especially because it includes even like unobtainable mounts. So if you had a list of still obtainable mounts, this would actually be pretty close to number 1, I think. So I think the first big change I remember is like when they started like making things cross realm and not like so much server based. I do remember back in, and I don't remember when it stopped. I'm like Burning Crusade, Wrath of Lich King, Cataclysm. I think it was still a thing where you would like get to know like badasses on your server, right? Like I remember I used to play on Blackhand, and there was this warrior called Tabby Cat, and like he was just known as like the best warrior on the server, and he played a gnome. I don't think he's a content creator or anything, but like you just knew him. And that is like one of the coolest things. I wish that type of thing was still in the game. And so here's the crazy thing, right? Like I PvP really hard now. I faced him the other day in arenas, and I remembered him from playing back on Blackhand. I'm talking like literally like 14 years ago. I'm 30 now. I mean, how long has the game been out? It was 2004 when it came out. Yeah, I mean, like, so this had to be so long ago, and it was because of how the game was back then. Like, you knew the people on your server, and I whispered him, and I didn't get a whisper back, and it's like, oh man, I wish he could know the feeling I had walking into him in an arena. And he beat me, and I think part of it was because I was so flabbergasted and so like starstruck that I like didn't play well that game. But yeah, I like so that's the biggest thing. They've added all these tools, Dungeon Finder, Raid Finder, cross faction, what are the things called where you like zone into other people's phases. Like a lot of that is gone, and I don't know how you get it back into the game and still have a game that like feels like you can play with anybody you want and you don't have the bad experience of having to wait in queues forever. I mean, there's pros and cons to it, but that's probably the biggest thing I've seen change over the years. I've been like so super casual, like so the game's gotten like playing Wrath Classic. You realize this, like the game was so much easier back then. I think there's so many factors that go into that, like the amount of information that you can have now. I think hardware, like literally was a huge difference, right? Like I was playing on my home computer and I was getting 10 to 15 frames per second, and now I'm playing on a beefy computer with all the settings and I'm getting usually 144 frames because that's what I have it capped out at. Maybe not all the time, but like I remember in Burning Crusade I was a druid bear tank, and I don't know how I got into this guild and was able to tank this, but we were doing Tempest Keep and I had to look at the ground the entire time to get enough frames to raid. I was probably getting 5 frames a second still, and somehow we did it. But like, I mean, that's what you had to do because I don't think gaming computers were like a huge thing back then. Maybe I'm not. Like, who knows? Because I was too young I wasn't really into gaming PC scene. But it's just like crazy to think how far we've come. Another big thing is the lore. Actually, before I get into that, like I want to bring up another thing because I actually created some videos back in the day, like back in my Cataclysm days, and I went and found the YouTube videos the other day, and it was hilarious. Because I have a FPS counter on the screen and I'm in arenas and I'm getting like 14 frames a second. It's just kind of funny because like I said, I'm kind of trying to become a content creator now, and like obviously I had a little bit of that, like wanting that back even then, because I was creating these videos, uploading them to YouTube. Funny to see how many frames per second. Like if you were playing 14 second or playing at 14 frames a second right now, you would be having an absolutely terrible time, and you probably wouldn't be able to even like be competitive, like at even like maybe a heroic level. Like it would be too hard to get out of mechanics and stuff. So the skill has increased, the lore has gotten out of hand. I think Wrath of the Lich King was a pinnacle because that is all the lore that was basically established in like the Warcraft games. I know Deathwing was established, but like and I don't think it got. I know Cataclysm decreased. I actually liked Cataclysm, but then Mists of Pandaria, that kind of seemed weird. Like you start introducing the Shah. I don't think they were a thing at all in the games before that. And then, here recently, Battle for Azeroth and then Shadowlands. It's like keep creating lore, but it just seems like it's kind of gotten out of hand. I'm really excited for the Dragon Isles because elementals and dragons, like that's fucking World of Warcraft. We're going to be dealing with primalists and stuff like that. Evidently dragons came from elementals. I don't know how long that's been established in lore, but that's like the base of World of Warcraft. You want to be fighting elementals and dragons. I've said elementals and dragons probably too many times, but I'm excited for that. So the biggest way that games have changed over the years, I would say probably community. Just like skill level and hardware over the years, just as computer gaming has become more popular, and then lore has changed so much, and some of it's good, some of it's not so good. I think all this otherworldly, getting super existential, has gotten a little bit out of hand, but I'm glad to see more of a return to the base fantasy. So since I've been in PvP so much in Shadowlands, and they're gonna fix this a little bit in Dragonflight, right? But the biggest problem is having gear differences matter in PvP. There's part of me that likes it, like it feels good to hit a new rating and get better gear that makes you better against people. But as far as like if you want to like World of Warcraft PvP to ever be competitive, then everyone needs the same power level and it needs to be all based on skill. And so I've talked about this with my friends multiple times. Like, I think if you want to have World of Warcraft become a competitive PvP scene, you have to have like separate servers where you're instantly max level, everyone is in the same gear, and that's where you compete and you get your titles and achievements and stuff like that. And I think that you should have them carry over into the main game. I don't know how, like, there's so much you'd have to implement, but it would be some sort of feature like that where PvP would be perfectly balanced and you wouldn't have to go through any PvE content to get there. You wouldn't have to grind out conduits. You wouldn't even have to level. Because who plays a PvP game for that? Like, you're not playing League of Legends having to go through hours of content to hit max level and then hours of gearing content before you can be competitive. And maybe I'm a little bit wrong on that. I know there's like different systems where you have to like grind out certain things. Like you just start PvPing off the bat. And I think and maybe that's not ever what WoW is going to be, but I kind of wish it was. I wish WoW PvP was bigger. I wish there was more people involved because I think it's a great form of PvP. I know people like to complain that it's imbalanced and stuff like that, but I actually thought Shadowlands wasn't that bad. There's always specs that are really good performers, and I'm saying this as a Fury Warrior, so that's probably half the reason too. But I played other classes too, and I mean I've seen maybe not every spec, but every class be super competitive and like be scary to go against. So the other thing with everyone competing with the same gear and stuff like that, then you're balancing the classes just on their specs. Like that's the other thing with these other servers, you could balance classes and specs solely for PvP, which I don't think they're ever going to be able to do in a game that is primarily an RPG. So yeah, I would really like to see some sort of ultra balanced PvP version that doesn't require any PvE content to get into, that would hopefully make PvP more accessible and just fun for people. Back in Cataclysm, I was creating these videos. Even every once in a while since then, I had created some, like, so those were WoW PvP videos. I think my first ever memory of wanting to create a video, and I don't remember what drove me to do it. I probably saw, I mean, if you remember back in the day, like Oxhorn doing videos. I can't remember the name of the artist, but he did the Blue Dress song, Fire Mage and PvP. Such a good song. I wanted to do a video with my friend, and this was a rogue. No. I can't remember his class, but his name was Avalon, and I'm not friends with him anymore, or I don't know where he is or whatever. If he plays WoW, he probably doesn't. But I was like, this is going to be a super funny video, and this was when I played a Draenei Hunter. We're going to make a video like we don't know each other, and we're going to go into Scarlet Monastery, and it's the one that has the chapel and all the ads. And my idea was that we were going to go into that last room. I was high enough level to where I could solo it, but I was going to misdirect him and pull that whole room, and he was going to freak out. And that was the premise of the video. And we made that video. I don't know where it is. I think it's probably long gone on some hard drive. I don't think it ever got uploaded to YouTube. But that was my first experience, like, with wanting to make a video. And then here just recently, kind of a blessing and a curse, but I think content creation, streaming, all of that has become more accessible to people, and I think it's because of hardware, and I think it's because of the amount of information out there on the internet. TikTok is crazy, and I think TikTok is the reason I wanted to kind of start, but there's so many like tips and stuff out there, and I think a lot of it is actually really bad now that I've been doing this for a little while. But there's a lot of tips on how to get started, how to do it. I said it was a blessing and a curse because I think it's great because it makes it seem accessible and something you can do, anyone can do. But I think it is also a curse because it's probably inspired a lot of people to start creating. And so that just makes the getting started market like that much more competitive. I don't remember exactly how it started, but I kept on thinking like, I'm getting into PvP. I'm getting good at PvP. I love World of Warcraft, and man, would it be awesome to be able to play World of Warcraft as my job. I've always enjoyed like I said, kind of making videos. And as I've done it more and more, like I really, really enjoy making videos, probably even more than streaming. I've come to realize here earlier, but I think I kind of just mentioned to my wife at one point that this is kind of what I wanted Like I would, not that I wanted to do it, but it would just be so cool to be a WoW content creator and have that be my career. Like I have a good job right now. Um, but I think at one point was she was just like, well, you should at least give it a try. You should do it. That just kind of blew my mind. I mean, we had a 2-year old at the time, and we were pregnant with, one on the way in like a couple months, I think. So this was back in June. My most recent was born in July. Yeah. So I started content creating at the beginning of like June 1st, I think is when I consider myself to have started. Like I had created a Twitch channel years ago just to stream Hearthstone on and off. Yeah, she encouraged me to start it, and I have loved it, and I have improved so much since then. I've learned so much since then. And like I could see this being an actual thing. And especially with, like I said, with my video creation, I think it's really hard, right? Because I've got a full-time job, I've got 2 kids. When I get home from work, I like really value that time with my kids before they go to bed. And then content creation, like I'm trying to stream 3 or 4 days right now, 2 or 3 hours each stream, and then any of my other free time is I'm using for like creating videos and coming up, like putting ideas that I've had throughout the day to use. So it's like, it's really hard. Like I appreciate my wife, and she's, supporting me as I at least give this a good go to see what we can do with it. But I get a lot less time with her, and I feel really bad, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, maybe the reward could be really worth it, because it would be awesome if I could work from home. I don't think content creation is something that would take any less time than a full-time job. I've realized that very quickly as I have started this journey. Like it would easily take me 40 hours a week, but I'd be home, and I could, take little breaks with my kids here and there, and making your own schedule would be awesome. And, doing what I'm truly enjoy and am passionate about would be awesome. So that's kind of where I started. I've been doing it for about, I guess, 4 or 5 months now, giving it a good go. My initial goal was to see where I was after 3 months, but that's not really enough time to get anyone anywhere. So I've kind of extended it out to a year. I'll probably see where I'm at on June 1st of 2023. And if it seems like something that, is still obtainable, I'm going to keep going for it. If not, then, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's kind of a dream job of mine. I think it's probably a dream job for a lot of people, but it takes a lot of hard work, a lot more work than you think it probably will when you first start. So yeah, I will see where we're at here in a little while, but I'm having a blast doing it. I love coming up with ideas and putting them into effect, and yeah, I'm excited for Dragonflight to come out, because that's going to be my first huge bit of content that I get to be on the forefront of. Just come check me out on TikTok. I try to make WoW memes, informational content about what's coming up in WoW, entertaining content. Check out my YouTube, especially if you are like a warrior, maybe a shaman. I have a lot of video ideas in the works for my YouTube, but they are not going to be coming out super often. I usually share my shorts, same thing as my TikTok. So those are my main things I'm focusing on right now. I have a couple other things, Twitter, Instagram, that kind of stuff. You can find me erradicgaming on all of them. I would say TikTok, YouTube, and my Twitch stream are my main 3 right now.
Goodbye. May our paths cross again. I will never forget your kindness. May the wind be at your back.